I'm Paul Zigo, and this is Cinema for Cynics. So, a childhood favorite of mine, The Dark Crystal, is getting a Netflix TV series reboot soon. Very little is known about the forthcoming show, only a teaser trailer with no actual footage has been released. So, I thought it'd be a good time to take another look at the original 1982 flick and see how it holds up. Let's just get it out of the way. The Dark Crystal has puppets. In fact, that's all it has. With the exception of a few brief wide shots, there are no human actors in the film, just puppets. Some of you might be done already. I'll admit puppet movies are a hard sell, but hey, these are Jim Henson puppets. Not exactly the cutesy fuzzy bears and pigs and frogs you're used to, but they are really cool. Most of them, anyway. The creature designs really stand out here and go a long way towards making the movie enjoyable more than 30 years after its 1982 release. My favorites growing up were the Skeksis, a race of chicken, vulture, turkey, Howard Stern hybrid nightmares, originally modeled after the 7 deadly sins. There are technically 9 Skeksis, so I guess Frank Oz and Jim Henson invented a couple of more sin categories in those dark creative nights together, writing and directing. The Skeksis are hard to look away from. Each one has that slimy, self-serving aspect that makes for a fun-to-hate villain. Not all of the puppets are so successful, and unfortunately, the worst of the worst happen to be our main characters, Jen and Kira, the Gelflings, whatever those are. In a world filled with intricate, interesting, expressive species, the Gelflings look like, well, puppets in comparison. They're close enough to human to trigger a nasty case of uncanny valley, but they lack all of the expressiveness that typifies a human face. Their hands are typical Kermit the Frog arm on a stick fare, which just adds to the weird sense of disconnection with the rest of the world. I remember seeing a making of featurette that talked about early Gelfling concepts and how much the team agonized over the look of the main characters. Unfortunately, all that work and revision just didn't hold up with time. The Garthim are another example of a swing and a miss in the puppet design department. The Skeksis shock troops, the Garthim are essentially giant dung beetles, which makes sense because they're rolled into this movie like a big ball of shit. Slightly anthropomorphized insectoid morons who awkwardly walk on 2 legs while they blindly flail their big floppy claws around. The Garthim are slow and cumbersome and goofy looking. If, however, you're willing to look past some awkward puppets, you'll find an atmospheric movie with some unusually tense and disturbing moments. The Dark Crystal isn't afraid to be, for lack of a better term, dark. In a standout moment that I remember disturbing the shit out of me as a kid, one of the Skeksis uses this machine tied to the Dark Crystal to essentially juice Kira and some of the other little podlings of their essence. It's unnerving to watch them squirm and shrivel for me even now, and it's an example of the movie really succeeding in selling these puppets as little beings in a fully fleshed out world. The story is pretty standard, chosen one hero fare, but the soundtrack is beautiful. The sets are expansive and eye-catching. Jim Henson was immensely invested in this movie, going so far as to say of all his projects, The Dark Crystal was the one he took the most pride in. Despite its drawbacks, that passion really shines through here. Hopefully, without Jim around, the team behind the TV reboot will respect that passion, give fans of the series a worthy continuation of the story. I'm cautiously optimistic, but knowing how filmmakers like to wipe their asses with old classics, I'm not holding my breath. The Dark Crystal is great. Take a chance on a puppet romance. Watch it.